Magandang gabi po sa inyo lahat.
Magandang gabi sa inyo lahat at kasama ko ngayon si Attorney E.
At syempre kasama ko si Doc D dito sa
Usapang
Usapang Ed.
Ed. Ayan. Nagsabay kami, finally. After several episodes. So, gusto namin kayong pasalamatan for being with us tonight. Tonight, it's April 3. And our episode is on Usapang Higher Ed Part 2. So, if you remember, last Monday, we had as our guest Dr. Cinch Bautista, no, member of the Advisory Council of EDCOM 2 and in charge of higher education. So naging maganda no, ang pag-uusap natin tungkol sa EDCOM 2 at ang mga policy recommendations no, pagkatapos ng mahigit sa 2 taong pag-aaral ng EDCOM 2. Ngayong gabi, anong mangyayari?
Ngayong gabi, sa continuation ng usapang private higher ed, makakasama natin ang mga representatives ng Philippine Association of Colleges and Universities. Ito yung pinakamalaking organization ng private higher ed country. At syempre sila na magpapaliwanag kung ano ang PACU. At of course, tawagin na natin sila. We actually have guests, di lang po isa, kundi 3. So I'll introduce them. Si Mr. Marco M. Benitez, ang President ng Philippine Association of Colleges and Universities. Magandang gabi sa iyo, Marco.
And, evening, Attorney and Doc D. Nice to be here.
Yes, thank you also for joining us tonight. And of course, si Dr. Vince Fabella, one of the Board of Trustees of PACU. Good evening, Dr. Vince.
Good evening, Attorney Estrada and Doc Doris.
And of course, the PACU Executive Director, Ms. Joyce Samaniego. Good evening, Joyce.
Magandang gabi, Attorney E and Dr. D.
So siguro no, bago tayo magtuloy no sa pag-uusap, talagang gusto namin magpasalamat no sa mga officers ng PACU na nandito with us. No, these 3 have really been very very crucial no in the work that we do for private education. Marco Benitez sits with us in the PAC. Dr. Fabella sits with us in the PAC, Research, Investments, and Policy. And of course, Joyce Samaniego is one of our implementers no, of all our initiatives. So maraming salamat. Itong episode na to ay i-cross-post ng Private Education Assistance Committee. So lahat ng nanonood via the PAC Facebook, magandang gabi sa inyong lahat. And of course, PACU also will be cross-posting this. Tama ba? O pinangunahan ko kayo?
I think we're also live. Oo. So napapanood tayo ng mga members ng PACU. But of course, PACU is also a member of COCOPEA. No?
Yes.
One of the 5 major
siguro
associations
kailangan ipaliwanag muna natin yung part na yan.
Okay, so start na tayo.
Yes.
Okay, so ano nga ba ang PACU? Kindly introduce the association to our viewers and listeners.
Attorney, well, thank you for the opportunity. PACU is, I believe, the oldest association of private colleges and universities in the Philippines. As of now, we have about 190 member institutions and close to 1 million, if not 1 million, students with the most number of employees in the institution. So we are composed of some of the bigger private schools. A lot of them started by families. A lot of them are the non-religious schools as compared to CAP, but all with the advocacy of improving education in the country.
Okay, now speaking of advocacy, Doris, you can do the honors.
Oo. So, alam natin, no, ang mga malalaking higher education institutions no, ay members ng PACU at very active ang PACU no, kahit na sa EDCOM 2, in congressional and Senate hearings. So siguro yun ang gusto nating tanungin. Ano ngayon ang advocacy initiatives no, ng PACU given the current landscape?
Great. Hi, Attorney Joseph and Doris. Maybe I can be the one to answer that. Right now, under the leadership of President Benitez, we have 4 major advocacies. The first really is to help the country in its pursuit of job creations. we're in higher education. Many of our members are also do basic education. They do VocTech. I think we focus a lot kasi on delivering graduates for the country, and we tend to forget to communicate how many of these graduates get jobs, how training them leads to better job opportunities, better career paths. So we're going to try to bring back that knowledge to the public. We'll talk about the links in jobs, how much we are in the forefront of job creation through a lot of the training, lalo na sa higher education, a lot of the new technologies and demands that are coming up now, right, in the country and internationally, really need a lot of higher education training. So that's the first. The second is I talked about technology. So a lot of to help our members, since we have 190 of the bigger colleges and universities in the country, is really the work of education technology. That's an area we're looking into very closely. So alam niyo naman, there's artificial intelligence, there's cybersecurity, there's data analytics, all that stuff. Many of these things benefit from universities and colleges working together with each other, with the government, with other institutions around the world. So that's the second thing we're pushing. The third thing we're pushing, very important, is really to improve our database. So a lot of the data tungkol sa private education, tungkol sa higher education, we're trying to consolidate all of that para we can communicate to the public what's important. And indeed, it's not just data about our institutions, right? But data about what the popular courses are, which courses really link up to the better jobs, which ones have good futures in them, etc. That's the third. And then the fourth is really just a lot of support for our member colleges and universities. So tawag namin, we call it institutional sustainability. So the only thing I'll add to that, if I may, before passing it back to you, is a lot of this, we're private education, no? So the Philippines uniquely has had a history of education being in the private sector, and the government came in much later. So we have a very vibrant education sector here from the private side. But a lot of this needs work in partnership with both the government and the community. So we always call it it's a mosaic, it's a partnership. A lot of our advocacies we need to work with and help the government.
Yeah, speaking about that, Dr. Vince, what's the ratio now between the government and the private higher education institution in terms of enrollment share?
Yeah. So it's that kind of data is very, I think I'll just call it I think statistically we call it dirty data. So we can't say it with extreme accuracy. But the ratios right now are anywhere from 50-50. So 50% of enrollment comes from the private sector, 50% is in the public state universities and colleges. Or the range is from 48-52 to 50-50. So we tend to round it off to 50-50. That's in higher education. When we look at basic education, it might be senior high school, I think right now is 60-40 or
Yeah.
65-35. Okay. So it went down, no? 35% is private education, and then basic education with junior high school is about I think
1486.
if we take out and of that 14, about half of that is government funded through vouchers. So it's right. So those are the ratios right now.
So statistically,
No,
parang
I
equal.
was gonna ask kasi, no, along those lines, kasi mukhang napunta tayo sa ganong klaseng data, no? If we are now at 50-50 or 48-52, no? Dati, if I remember correctly, 80-20 yan eh. 80% private, higher ed, 20% government, right? So
Correct.
obviously there's been a decline in enrollment, right, in private higher ed. So if this is in the state of higher ed or part of sustainability, where do we, how do we, what's the cause of this? I mean, what happened in the last several years causing such a dramatic decline?
Marco, you want me to take a stab at that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I can try. Yeah, so a lot of things have happened. I'll try to identify some of the major ones. Very recently, right, there's been a free education law
Mhm.
that was passed over the
Yeah.
past, I think, 5 years or so. So that has resulted in a movement of a lot of students towards the public school, the public universities. So that's one reason for the shift. But I'll also say naman that in the 1990s, kasi I think government investments in education were a lot less. And mabuti naman that the government started trying to balance it out and started investing more in higher education. So the ratio naturally corrected, right? A lot of the students who I think a lot of the students who are having a hard time affording private education will naturally go to public universities. So a lot of the talk we do now, a lot of the work we do now is a recognition for higher education to grow and to grow very prosperously. Kailangan you need both public and private, and you need a lot of partnerships there. That's one of the reasons we Um, a very nice example there is a while back in developing science, there was a tripartite partnership between LaSalle, Ateneo, and UP. And PhD faculty could rotate around, right, to get the best in each of the schools. So that's an example of the public and private working together. Um, and that's actually, uh, you just had EdCom talk, right? One of the big bills we're pushing in EdCom is the complementarity bill, a draft complementarity bill. See,
Can you tell us more about that? What complementarity is? Yung ano ba mas
yeah,
in
it
a
sounds a
simpler
little
manner?
technical, no?
Yeah.
Yeah. So complementarity is a term from the Philippine Constitution, right? And it talks about that the private schools and public schools have to work to complement each other in a complementarity basis. So the bill talks about how to do this, how to work it out. So basically, right, English, we complement each other. We build off each other's strengths. If someone is weak in something, the other is strong, and vice versa. And together, parang synergy, that the two
Yeah.
sectors, public and private, are better together than each of them working alone. So one of the challenges kasi the private sectors had in, I think, the recent decade is many well-meaning policymakers think na if government can fund everything, sila na, yung tira na lang sa private sector. But that's not really what I think the Constitution envisions. It envisions that the two have to work together um, for the best education system for the country, right? And we'll give a very quick example. One of the researches nga done by PAYAC, when they took a snapshot before of the private sector and they laid it out in a nice little matrix, and they just looked at two variables, no? I think it was tuition fee and then the level of quality,
Mhm.
which is like accreditation or PRC passing rates, ganyan. And they saw there were dots all over the place. And the reason we bring this up is the reason for the dots all over the place, meaning if you plotted them in a graph, right, they didn't clump into one section, they were all over the paper. Shows you really different private sector, the researchers were saying, different private sector colleges and universities have different advocacies, right?
Mhm.
There are religious schools,
Correct.
even among the religious schools, there are different advocacies. There's high-end education, which might be expensive. There's education for access. There's some which focus on technical, very professional technical. There's some which focus really on missionary type work. So that broad range,
Mhm.
right, is something very hard to do with the public sector,
Yeah. Can
right?
can I just
But the public,
yeah.
oh, sige, sige, sige.
Sige, pause for a moment there. Kasi I wanted to ask, nabanggit kasi ni Dr. Vince kanina na complementarity is building on strengths of both the
Mm,
public and the private sector. So actually I think magandang maipaliwanag natin sa ating mga nanonood, ng mga educators din. What is the unique strength of the private higher education sector? Kasi considering na you mentioned kanina because of the free higher ed,
yeah.
libre na ang higher ed in the state universities and colleges and local colleges and universities. But what is that unique strength of the private sector? Why, in other words, why would the students consider still going to the private higher education
Yeah,
institutions?
yeah, I can talk about. So sorry, Marco and Joyce, might be
Go
hogging a
ahead.
little. Allow me to talk about that very quickly. So the uniqueness, no? When people talk about the future kasi of education, the type of words you hear are jobs, right? Or the education to get jobs and to get meaningful jobs. And then when you start talking about meaningful jobs, the kind of word that comes out in research, you do Google searches, etc. You ask AI to explain it to you. What will come out are things like the future of work, job skills of the future, industrial revolution 4.0, etc. Those kinds of workers of the next century. Those are all very fast moving requirements and challenges in business and the nonprofit sector and governments. These competencies are developing very quickly and very fast. And what we know in the field of organizations is for organizations, which include schools, right, to be able to adapt, to offer these, and to quickly change and make sure they're offering the best thing for their students and learners, right? They have to be very agile. So by design, the least agile organizations are governments. And that's by design. They're supposed to be slow, they're supposed to be very protective of of the people. That's really by design. So you need both types of organizations. Kaya nga we're saying that's why you would go to a private school, right? You're interested in technology, you're interested in the latest research, you're interested in a right in I guess a more responsive school or university. Those are likely going to be the private universities, right?
Kasi they can specialize, no, anytime the
Yeah,
universities,
and they can
right? Oh,
adjust. They can
and adjust
adjust, which
anytime,
is I
right?
think the
Oh,
big thing, right? Yeah. So
that's
that's a big
nice.
thing. But we're just not making right. It's not saying one is worse than the other. They're just two very different types of
Right.
providing higher education.
Pero siguro
Plus,
ang ano doon,
aside
no?
from that,
Probably, Press Marco, are you saying something? Or
yeah,
I'm,
aside
I'm
from
going to
that,
ask.
yeah, maybe just to add shortly, I think also private higher education offers unique characteristics, as Pres Vince mentioned. On the other side of the spectrum, um, there are a lot of institutions that are there for certain missions, certain advocacies that offer, for example, character formation or on the lines of religious formation. Some of these things that learners are looking for in a university, which are not found in the government university. So this adds to the variety and the spectrum that private higher education offers.
But what you are describing, I mean, what Dr. Fabella said, and of course, Press Marco no, gave additional input. Is this really happening as a matter of fact? In other words, much as we understand no, na parang there should be parang optimize the roles of both public and private, understanding the strength of private vis-a-vis the strength of public.
Mm-hmm.
But as a matter of fact, are we really complementing? 'Di ba? Parang that's kaya nga we're pushing for the bill kasi for the most part, we don't see it
Yeah,
operationalized.
yeah. Thank you for bringing that up, Doris. Yeah, it's been medyo the past few years. Uh, or so the past decade has been very challenging for private education. And I think a large part of that is people don't understand these policymakers, right? The ones who make the laws, the ones who implement them. I really feel don't understand the synergy between public and private. Many still think na basta the government has money, it should
It should
build
do.
schools, right? And if you listen to the thing I had just said, which is that a lot of it is really in how the organizations are set up, how businesses are set up. When a government builds a school, it's naturally going to build a school or a university that's based on a government model. So it's very non-private. And there are many reasons for that, no, many valid reasons. But suffice it to say, it's really going to be a government university. So the more they build on that, the more government universities there are, and they're all free, it will really eat up into the private sector. So syempre, it's nice, it's free. But what we've been arguing kasi, and that's part of the reason for the complementarity bill, is a lot of the thinking now, and the people listening in your podcast, I hope they can think about this, is usually what a policymaker should be asking, and this is the latest thinking now, is really what's the best use, what's the one thing government can do that the private sector or anyone else cannot do? And that's the one they should focus their time on. Many people in the private sector say the same thing. What's the one thing, what's the one value I can add? Then the rest I will outsource, diba? It's the same logic. So the one thing government can really do, the two things, is regulate and fund. Regulate is right. They provide the quality standards. They make sure they're teaching the right stuff. They make sure that the people are trained properly, and then fund. So when we say fund, right, they collect taxes. They have budgets. They should. The argument, the new thinking is they should give that to the school which has the best performance, right? And you can define performance however you want.
Yeah.
So just because the government has budget, it shouldn't go into a government school.
Right.
They should say, in our region, pumili tayo ng pinakamagagaling because that's the one we want our students to go to, right?
In other words, Vince, you're saying complementarity is the foundation of academic freedom of our institutions of higher learning. How important is that academic freedom now when we talk about innovations, job creation?
Yeah. I think hopefully Marco can help me here. I think academic freedom, that's really at the hallmark of I'll call it na lang right, a Western or modern educational system. Academic freedom is really at the base of that. The reason universities have gotten as far as they have in knowledge creation and creating jobs and helping people move up through generations. Usually that's by generation. Somebody gets a college degree, they do better, right? Now their kids have college degrees, ganyan. All of that is happening to a large part because of a very basic concept, academic freedom, which is the universities have the right to teach, right? To teach and instruct in the way they see fit, the way they interpret their missions. So it's not state mandated. That's not just in the Philippines, it's around the world. And in fact, there's recent movements. So that's why when when there are movements around the world and governments try to a lot of times tell schools what to teach, there's a big outcry. It pops up in the media. It gets a lot of negative press because one of the hallmarks of I guess countries, right? Countries, populations, civilizations moving forward well is a very good educational system, and that needs academic freedom.
Yeah. A quick follow-up lang. So, I'll ask, hindi naman controversial, but this is an unpopular, especially when we talk about complementarity. Kasi we're saying about academic freedom. So, now, like for example, how does the freedom to run our schools is affected by for example, a regulation on tuition? Parang kasi hindi nag-align, ano? So, you want to pursue new knowledges, new research, innovation research. How is that aligned with regulations on capping tuition, for example?
Joyce, do you want to?
Marco. Press Marco.
Or
Natawag. Anyway,
Tawag na recitation.
Talagang gustong tanungin ni Erop yan kanina pa eh. Miss ka na, pilitang connection, pero game lang. So how does it affect?
Well, siguro
our
ibahin ko ng konti para
of quality.
para medyo broad naman, not example lang in tuition.
Sige.
But kasi we're saying academic
Regulation.
freedom kasi we have that freedom. Of course, it's not absolute, di ba?
Vis-a-vis regulation.
Government
Correct,
regulation should
correct.
always come in. So at what point should the government should come in without naman restricting academic freedom?
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. Ayan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess the big answer I'll give there is if government, I think if government or the policymakers come in with rules which severely restrict the ability of a school, right, to meet its mission, then I think that hurts academic freedom. So tuition's a good example, although I think it's a little technical on the side of schools, right? But if government tells private schools how much they can charge and they get very it sounds nice, but it really limits what the school can do, right? The school, there's a very drawn out process of how to figure out tuitions and school fees, and schools do that in light of their mission and their plans on how they want to improve learning for the students. So it's very short-sighted for government to just say you can't increase your fees. I think what's more important is students need choice,
Yes.
right?
And they're
if a school is
consulted and
obviously
they agree.
a very
Yeah,
nice
so if
thing.
a school is obviously, and then schools have to obviously listen to the students. So, right, everything from scholarships to discounts to right, to allowing them to continue if they're having a hard time paying. That's a very case to case, right, decision. But it's very different from a very broad rule that says no one can increase tuition fees,
Yeah.
right? With the moment you do that, then the private sector will end up looking like the public sector, and you
Actually, bago nagtanong si
sayang
Eva,
na.
oo, meron ako dapat itinanong kanina eh. When you talk of government, we just don't talk about Namanched or, the government, right? Malacanang, right? Or budget.
Yes, yes, yes.
The local government, I think we also have concerns there, right? Why is it that they keep on establishing LUCs when in fact they already have high-performing private HEIs which they can support with scholarships? 'Di ba? Bakit yun ang isang sa akin napakalaking concern given the
Yeah.
proliferation of LUCs and then extension campuses. Tapos pag nakita ko may katabing magaling na private HEI eh.
Yeah.
Joyce, nagtataas ng kamay.
Ako,
Gusto
mag-hand
mag-resign.
na po ako. Ako yung estudyante dito yata eh. The most junior. But actually po, in relation to that and yung academic freedom din na discussion, parang, of course, we want to have that academic freedom. Kasi it's complementary to our freedom of expression, and to the freedom of our minds to think, how we think, how we express our feelings, what we've learned in school, so that we can, speak out the truths that we know, and the fake news, yung mga lumalabas na kamalian in the society. So, kapag ang private school ay merong ganong power, then our students are also empowered to speak up the truth. And pagka mababawasan ng private schools, there will be lesser opportunity for students to speak their truth and what they've learned from school, and they can become better citizens of our country. So, pag dumarami yung, of course, state-funded na education, it goes to show also na yes, the government is providing, pero parang napopoliticize yung lalo na sa LGU, nabanggit ni Doris na syempre may utang na loob, and one of that Filipino values is utang na loob sa congressman, sa mayor na nagbigay ng, 'di ba,
Yeah.
ng subsidies and what scholarships. So I think dapat
Yeah.
talaga merong freedom, academic freedom and freedom of expression, and the subsidies being given to private schools really helps in making sure that we are also speaking our truth para naman yung government natin will have a counterbalance, di ba?
Yeah, I think, thank you, Joyce. Maganda yung sinabi mo. I think it also goes back to sa sinabi ni Dr. Vince kanina na government will always be secular kasi in its mission eh. And syempre, yung unique strengths of the private
Yeah.
sector is giving, variance.
Pero-
Yeah, pero yun
Yeah.
ang
Kaya
concern ko
ito-
kanina. Doc Vince.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly follow up on something Joyce had said. She said it's nice that the local government provides. And I think I want to stress that I think that's exactly the point. I think many in government, when they say they'll provide, they right away think it
They will
means
build.
magtatayo
On
sila,
their own.
magtatayo sila.
Oh.
Yeah, and Joyce brings up a point, no? Why will you spend money putting something up? Like you said, Doris, right? Why will you spend money putting something up? Just fund the scholarships in the
Private.
nearby school. Go into an MOU with that school beside you, right? And
Yeah.
just fund it.
Yeah.
If
Siguro,
I
If you
Dr.
want
could
it,
Pabelia, yung from the beginning na pinag-usapan ng Press Marco, you can comment on this, no? Yung publicly funded but privately administered. Parang I
provided,
think
yeah.
hindi nagsisink in yan eh. Parang they always think of provision as all publicly funded, publicly provided. Parang ganyan.
I think,
Yeah.
Doris, I think it's a mindset thing first and foremost, where as President Vince mentioned, when they think of something as publicly funded, it also has to be publicly delivered or implemented. But we're a little bit happy to see that there are some LGUs, without citing anyone in particular, that there are some that are more open to
Yeah.
collaborating with the private institutions because they see it as they're more pragmatic in the sense that they see that instead of having to put up a program by themselves to go through the entire list of requirements, there are already good private schools that are offering and delivering that program. It's just a matter now of funding the students through vouchers or scholarships coming from the local government fund.
Yeah.
Pero
In
kasi
fact,
sa mga ano, yeah, Doc Vince.
as follow up on what Marco said and to what you had started the conversation with Doris. In fact, we think that the best case for a student is one of the problems kasi is when an LGU puts up a school, right? Then it's not just that it's operating the school, which it may or may not be good at, pero it's effectively telling the student, this is your only choice. So it's also from the student's perspective. We call that student agency. So they have really no choice. They have to go to that school. If the LGU or DepEd for that matter gave a voucher, then the student suddenly has a wide variety of they can go public, they can go private, right? They have so much more agency, so much more choice. I just wanted to add that to what Marco was saying. And there are a few, although few is really the word, there are a few LGUs, mostly in the urban area, which have recognized this and have very innovative programs. They allocate a big part of their budget to vouchers instead of putting up schools. So
May ano lang ako.
there's some
May,
possibilities.
yeah, I've follow-up questions or comments na lang. You can, the three of you can also add to the comments. Like what was being said by Press Marco. Minsan kasi sa congressional hearings, itong maririnig mo bakit tutulungan natin yan, private yan? You know, so it's really a mindset issue, no? Na parang bakit
Yeah.
tutulungan yan, private yan? And then second, so that you can just comment on this freely, is that student choice is so important, and it's one of the principles that underlie the use of vouchers. Kaso ang ano mo dyan is parang when they design or do the strategy, it's always magbigay tayo ng vouchers kapag may congestion. Ano mo yan? Hindi primary yung choice as the principle that that drives the vouchers and subsidies, but still decongest the public schools.
I think President Vince has some deep thoughts on that. Private just
You can
being
read his thoughts.
the excess, the one that answers the excess.
Yeah, I can do the congestion. Baka you want to talk about but why do we give money if it's private?
I think my comment in relation to that, I think it goes back to that principle of although it is a private institution, it delivers a public good.
Yun, that I agree completely.
I think that the mindset also has to be when you talk about private schools or private institutions, you have to remember that not only are they delivering a public good, but in essence, they are still private businesses. So when you talk about something like tuition fee increases, I am guessing that it comes from a desire for the government agency to regulate, to avoid abuse. But in essence, if the private institution is run properly, then the management of that private institution will also not, quote unquote, shoot itself in the foot by over increasing tuition such that it drives itself out of the market. So there are those dynamics that hopefully the regulators also recognize and give credit to, because we want to be able to deliver the best quality education to the most number of people. So it defeats the purpose of us pricing ourselves out of the market. Just for that example on tuition.
Tama.
Thank you,
You know,
President
Doris,
Marco. Yeah, go ahead, Vince. Go ahead.
I was going to say the second comment of Doris, then I'll also add to the first comment. The second one, which is will only provide kung may congestion. That's exactly. So right, so for the listeners out there, one of the big old models in public and private school partnerships is the money goes to public schools kung punong-puno na, right? Or they don't anymore have space for students, then they give the extra money to the private schools. So that's been a very successful program, right? All the international donors and academic researchers have complemented the program. It's a very good program. Pero it's also brought about the idea, because that's the only program many policymakers know. They really think kung walang congestion, it should be public. So the problem with that model is, if you kind of work that equation all the way through, that means basta may pera, it should go to the public, right? And so there are many ways to criticize that. One is obviously it goes against the concept of complementarity. That's one of the reasons we have the bill. They shouldn't be thinking that way. They should be thinking in terms of outcomes. What's the best combination that gets the best education to students? And it's clearly not all public, right?
Yes.
And it's clearly not all public. It's a mix. So that the challenge is to develop a system where both sides grow organically. That's sort of a link into the complementarity bill. But Doris, I wanted to just quickly comment on the first one, yung why do we give if it's private? So PIDS, or at least the researchers there, said that's the wrong question nga. The right question has to be from the student's perspective, the student's voice. If I didn't have a tuition fee challenge, where will I go?
If
Which
tuition is not the
school
issue,
can I go? Yeah,
where
if
will I
payment
go?
is not the issue, what is the school that will give me the best education that fits my need? Because education is in many ways it's a very
Yes.
personal experience between the
Yes.
student and the teachers and the institution. So government should be looking at a system where it empowers its students to really look for schools that are the best for them. If it keeps putting up schools, it's not empowering the students, right? It's
Right.
simply saying, dito kayo sa eskwela namin.
Those are
So
very good
that's
points. Oo.
I just wanted to we really have to think about it from the student's voice. Diba?
Agree.
If they had a direct hand in allocating that budget of the government, how would they spend it? And they wouldn't say, I want to go to a public school or private school. They wouldn't say that, right? They'll say, I want to go to this school. And they'll
Yeah.
give a name of a school they like.
Right. Yeah, those are very good points. Actually, maganda yung yung sinabi ni President Marco. I think in essence, ang sinasabi natin is education is really imbued with public interest, no? Regardless whether it is delivered in the state schools or government schools or sa private. So dapat sinasabi naman ni President Vince, dapat indifferent ang estudyante in terms of cost, no? Dapat kung saan gusto niya at saan magaling na eskwelahan, pwede siyang pumunta ron, no? And cost should not be a problem. And how should that happen? Dapat balanse yung pagsuporta ng gobyerno. So I just wanted to go back yung discussion kanina, yung local colleges. Also, kasi kanina sinasabi natin role of private education and the government. But when we talk about government, merong different levels, national government and local government. And sa local government kasi, syempre they also have this alam mo laging ginagamit din ng mga local chief executives or yung mga mayors. Meron kasi silang power under the local government code yung to promote the general welfare of their constituents. So I think isa rin yan sa challenge, no? So I just wanted to ask you, how do we balance that also, no? So parang bumabalik ako sa discussion natin kanina, but for many schools or colleges in the localities, that has been a challenge also, lalo na kung very aggressive yung local governments sa mga initiatives nila on education. How is that affecting our members in those areas?
Well, Attorney Arap, just to cite an example, maybe one of the issues or concerns raised by many of our members is that their hope is that when local governments or when the state colleges and universities put up programs, they recognize what are the programs that are needed by that region or by that area, and not necessarily just the programs that are popular with the students in that area. Because chances are, if you have quality private institutions in that area, they're already delivering those programs. So it becomes direct competition. Their hope is that because these are state or local funded institutions, they can provide the programs that the area needs, not necessarily whether they are popular or not. So those programs address a specific need of that region.
If I may add
Thank you.
also,
Yes,
Attorney
yes.
Ella and
Oo, Joyce.
I really think that of course the role of private higher education institutions or higher education institutions in general is to be the knowledge center of a community, of a local government, and the demands of the community in certain way on creation of jobs, creation of businesses, economic needs of the locality must be met at the supply side, the talent side by the private schools. So if we want a local government, a locality to improve, diba, to prosper, then we need to have very competitive graduates. And as a matter of fact, we are working with the IBPAP. We know the IBPAP sector is a very huge sector, and it contributes more than 8% in the GDP. And actually, by 2028, they're hoping to to employ 1 million more jobs for our country, for our Filipino full-time jobs, employment for our Filipinos, and additional 2.4 new jobs for other industries. So yung mga nagnenegosyo sa tabi ng call centers natin and the service industry. So that's a huge help. And private schools is helping a lot. For example, in this sector sa IBPAP alone, to create that much needed talent na ngayon they're very much challenged because their vision is for the Philippines to be the #1 digital experience hub by 2028. So yan yung lumalabas yung upskilling na tinatawag. And parati na lang na sa aking observation being around din ng mga different industries, talagang kami, ang private higher education institutions, ang tinatawag na please help us supply this current demand, this need, so that we can really propel our country forward and contribute higher, revenues for our government, for our foreign direct investments. So parang with that, nandun yung challenge sa aming private education institution. What support can we also receive so that we can continue with that mission, yun nga, institutional sustainability, na every year, pababa yung enrollment ng private, at yung public naman, very over competitive in terms of getting in students. Not to say, very controversial yung word na gatekeeping nga eh. Kasi there are also reports na we're gatekeeping graduates from public schools so they can still enroll in a public college, university, or senior high school. So, nasan yung freedom of choice doon? And so, I think if we continue yung democratic process natin na every year, syempre, the budget always increases. The demand from the public side, the state-run institutions increases. So, hindi naman yan infinite eh. Laging may nag-aagawan kung kanino mapupunta yung budget. Sa health, sa construction, sa public works, education, of course, is the top priority. Who do we serve first? The lower grades or the higher grades? But studies show that you should support both, di ba? So parang instead of having a tug of war, tama si Sir Vince and si Sir Marco, we have to really find a solution, a formula that fits the check boxes for private schools to thrive, survive, and be more competitive so we can propel our country forward and be able to provide our students with the right quality education, which, by the way, the PACO schools have been doing for 92 years already.
Siguro just to Well, you said several very important points, no? But just so we can proceed to the next that we really want to take up. A while ago, you were talking about an example, no, of how industry and academia are really in coordination, right? Specifically, BPOs, right? That industry. Pero ang isang lumabas nyo kanina na initiative ninyo is really database development. Kasi parang, how do we do all of this if we do not have a database that we can all trust? Is there something like this in government, or is it something that PACU or Kokopea will have to build?
Yeah, I think Mark was
Yeah, go
talking
ahead.
about it with the
President.
Kokopea.
Yeah.
I think we have to build it. Government's been there's been a mixed history of data collection with the government for private schools and public schools. Data's very sketchy. Data usually comes in through surveys and reports, which take forever for them to collect. So it's very dirty, and maybe dirty is the wrong word, but it's not the ideal way of data. So we don't know yet. We have some ideas, but yeah, I think the private sector is the one that has to build it, right?
How is it important is that Dr. Vince, not only for individual schools, the data, but
For
how
the
will
entire
that also
sector.
help the entire sector? For example, data development is a big
Oh,
thing. Data in general is very
yeah.
important.
So one is, I guess, on an individual school basis, it should make how we plan and how we invest and deciding what to provide students. It makes it a lot easier and a lot, I guess, more accurate because right, because you've got the data there. I think for policy discussions, when congressmen, senators, and even the education secretaries make their analysis and their decisions, that data's there to inform. Um, but I think that's one level. I think a more important level is when students and parents try to figure out which schools to go to, where they want to continue their education, right? That data's there to help guide them, right?
I'll jump in
School
lang to
performances,
oh yeah,
school
sorry.
fees, stuff like that. The sort of things
Is this
parents
something
look
you've
for.
discussed with, say, the Commission on Higher Education? Because I remember in one EDCOM 2 meeting, this was discussed, no? I mean, and I think the
Yeah,
discussion was, there is an LIS in DepEd, the Learner Information System,
yeah,
which captures, no, all of those students in the basic ed system. Why can this not be expanded, or
In
eventually
higher
those
ed.
unique
yeah.
numbers utilized in, say, CHED for higher ed and TESDA for
Yep.
TVET
That's the.
programs?
I don't have much comment on that. That kind of is the gold standard, right? To have each learner is tracked throughout their education journey. So that's correct. But linking up with, I mean, we're talking as an organization. Linking it up with the government sounds like a phase two or possibly a phase three. Even the World Bank, etc., have said that, right? Having a very stable database is important for developing the sector. But it's hard to link up with and get access to government data.
Yeah, we're
So,
almost
but that's
running
part of
out
the
of
plan.
time. So, so
Okay.
I'm sure this is a very
We will do a
interesting
part 3,
discussion.
don't worry.
Oh, meron pang isa na gusto ko lang itanong. I think marami rin tayong mga viewers who also want to ask this. Kasi artificial intelligence is a big thing now. How is that affecting the higher education sector also? Higher education sector, institutionally, and the entire sector in enhancing its services.
If I may,
Yeah,
short
sure. Best
answer,
Marco.
for Vince and Joyce. I think in terms of actual numbers, we don't see the big effect as of the moment. There are anecdotal stories of how institutions have been trying to dabble with AI on how to improve certain processes, make processes more efficient. dabble with AI when it comes to aiding professors or faculty teach students better. So that is one thing that PACU is trying to do. We started off with a AI policy framework workshop and policy manual, which was drafted and shared with the help of the committees in PACU and shared with Cocopea. I think the next step for PACU is really to organize and bring together our members to a summit where you can have authority in AI education or authorities in the industry really speak on what are the effects and what are the impacts that the education sector can expect in the short, medium, and even long term. So it's really part of the advocacy of PACU for institutional sustainability, institutional development, that we were able to cascade some of these learnings to our members.
Galing talaga si President Marco na mag-bridge para sa next topic.
Para
Nabanggit niya
sa
na
part
kagad
3
yung
daw, pang part 3. Hindi, pero ito,
institutional
yeah,
sustainability.
I agree with the answer and we all realize that. Pero siguro, meron akong gustong tanungin kanina pa. Hindi ko lang
Sige, tanungin mo
maisingit.
muna.
Is higher education for all?
Yeah. I can do the first salvo there. So it's not, and I don't think it was ever intended to be, right? But that's very different. So that's the answer to that question, Doris. I think if you look at a lot of the literature, if I may make such a sweeping statement, there'll be generally an answer like that. But that's very different from saying, should everyone have the right to try to get higher
different.
education? And usually the answer on that, an access answer, is yes.
Yes. Yeah.
At least in our type of, there's some governments, and these are democratic governments which don't believe that to be the case. Or they believe it a different way, right? We'll test you when you're in grade school or high school, and then we'll decide based on your test results, we'll decide whether you should go to a college or university or a VOCTEC. But even in those cases, they have the opportunity to take the test. Right? There are some governments which really believe now higher education is for the elite. So the Philippines is not like that.
I just want to follow up with that, Vince. So, yung, of course, access is for everyone. No? So everyone should be given that opportunity, but not for everyone, right? Have that,
correct.
access.
It's not for everyone.
You know, I always hear this, especially in the PACU discussions, and but you also believe that while access is for everyone, for higher ed, it requires more investment in terms of institutional investments and the students themselves. Na they also need to invest more because I also heard somewhere na it's not only just public good, but it's also an individual good, no? As compared to basic education.
Correct.
So, and hence, that's why they need also to have their share in terms of tuition, for example. Can you explain that?
Okay. I'm trying to figure out which part of your statement you want me to elaborate on.
Yung siguro investment. How do we rationalize that? It requires, as compared to basic ed, when you go to higher ed, be ready also to invest. No?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, it oftentimes requires higher investment. Definitely. Right? Higher education teachers usually command a higher salary, right? They have a quote unquote more advanced degrees. The investment in lab equipment, lalo na in the IT field or in the engineering field or in nursing, is much higher compared to what you would need in basic education. And as a result, higher education is generally more expensive, right? A typical, I wouldn't say rule of thumb, but right, basic education, you charge for 1 year. The higher education, you might charge per trimester or per semester. So for a year, a higher education cost might be 50% or 100% more than basic education. Yeah, so there, in terms of how to afford that, there are a couple of ways, right? Number one is families save up for it, right? By the time they get to higher education, uh, parents usually uh, have moved along further in their jobs. They have higher salaries, their savings, etc. People take out insurance, that kind of stuff. You can take out loans. That's on the private sector side. Government has scholarships. Government, of course, has free education. So it's just balancing it. It's kind of a tricky and just on this on the saving side, but it is more costly. But the payoffs to higher education compared to someone with no higher education are big naman. I forgot their thing. It's like twice the salary or something of a high school graduate, or twice or so there's really a return on investment.
Sir,
Kasi yung ano dyan,
in
yung
addition,
isang pwede siguro idagdag. Joyce, are you going to comment? Ito lang, most
I
of our
wanted to
students in
add,
senior high, they really want to go to college. I mean, that's
Yeah,
the aspiration, right? Uh,
tama.
even if they
actually,
are
Pero they
I
shouldn't
direct,
go to
tech walk track, you are, if given
tama.
the chance, they still go to college, even with NCs.
Tama.
I,
There's also emotional and social reasons. Sorry, I'll
and
let Joyce just was
apart from
going to
ano
say
sir, that
something.
I think yung solution for to guide the students, no, yung nabanggit niyo yung student agency, yung career advocacy natin, yung career guidance,
Mm,
guiding them to the right path, to the right track or strand to take in senior high and in college. Kasi if a student, sasayangin lang pala kasi I heard there are studies that were conducted on the tracer for higher education students, lalo na in the free higher education. Ang dami mataas ang attrition rate.
Taas.
So that
yeah,
Dropout.
only goes to show na hindi sila handa to enter into university. Napilitan lang sila. But of course, tama yung opportunity cost na pag graduate ka with a diploma, you'll get a better pay compared to a senior high school graduate. But that's not always naman siguro a case, lalo na if highly skilled yung estudyante to fill up a blue-collar job. So,
yeah.
kung gano'n ang tinitignan natin. So I think kailangan may guidance talaga yung students, may support from both parents, the government, and the school. Kasi we know naman na if you pay higher tuition or premium for the tuition, and then you get what you have paid for. And that's what
Dapat lang.
private schools are giving back to our students. Kasi tsaka yung vision mission ng school, yung culture of the college or the university. Pagka-graduate nila, they'll bring that back to their to the alma mater, yung mga natutunan nila at tsaka yung mga add-on value their being.
Doris,
Yeah.
Yes,
if
Pres.
I may add, I think, and I think this is one of the sentiments that more and more of our PACU members are sharing. Although we talk about job creation and economic development, we still believe in the sentiment or in the idea that education is not necessarily just for jobs. When you go to higher education, you also develop your own person more holistically. So there's that aspect of critical thinking,
Correct. Correct. Correct.
social development, finding yourself. A lot of us found ourselves, if you look back, a lot of us found ourselves in college. But because of the relationships and the friendships that we've built during our time in college. So I think one of the aspirations in PACU is that we also get away from this notion that higher education or education per se is just for jobs and skills development. It's really
Yeah.
about developing the entire person and holistically. And I guess that at the end of the day, that is what makes for better citizens of the country.
Correct. In
Very
fact,
nice.
Doris, yeah,
Go ahead.
I'll just add to what Marco said. When you look at typical surveys of right HR managers, etc., and they list all the skills they're looking for, right? Critical thinking, confidence, communication skills, etc. A lot of that can be taught partially in secondary education, obviously more fully in higher education. But that's what higher education delivers. And then when you talk, and the reason I bring that up is those soft skills are exactly the skills of citizenship. That's what Mark was bringing up, right? Which is also important for the country. So if businesses don't want to pay for those kinds of skills, definitely the government will have an interest in those kinds of competencies being in all its graduates, because that's important for the government, for the country. The last thing, Doris, I'll add, you had mentioned this higher education for everyone. A better way of thinking about it now, I think, and it's one of the exciting developments in the field, is that higher education doesn't need to happen right after high school. So is it for everyone? Depends on what part you are in your life cycle. And it may not be for everyone, depending on what part you are in your life cycle. But if you look at your whole life, right, then definitely it's probably a benefit to you to get into it sooner or later.
Yeah. I like that part. That part on that's actually lifelong learning. That's what we mean by
Yes, that's
yeah.
exactly.
It
Yes,
may
that's
not
exactly
be
what I
right
mean.
Not
after senior
immediate,
high
right?
school if your family
Yeah,
cannot afford it, but as soon as you can afford it, then it will be very beneficial for you
yeah.
personally and for your contribution to society. Yeah,
Economy.
but again, no, but having said all of that, ako medyo mataas pa rin ang bet ko na sana yung thinking skills, yung love of country and all of these values and dispositions that will allow you to be more concerned about the common good. I really hope at grade 12 medyo
Yeah,
substantially
agree.
developed.
Agree. Agree.
Okay, so
Yeah.
talagang dapat ito may part 3.
One ano na lang, one last ano na lang tayo, but very short na lang, napapahaba kwentuhan natin. This is very specific to PACU, our next topic. Short na lang ito. So I've known a lot of PACU member institutions, and I've worked with a lot of them also. Many of your members are accredited, no, if not all. And also you have the most number of autonomous deregulated higher education institutions. So is there something very specific in the PACU programs in sustaining this level among your or across your members? Maybe you can talk about that also. Initiatives on sustaining the
Quality
quality of
assurance.
members of PACU.
Can I take a quick crack at it, President? So in
Sure.
PACU, we have a committee specifically for institutional quality and improvement,
That's good.
headed right now by President Carol of Our Lady of Fatima. And I think one of the main thrusts, so we talked about institutional sustainability, is really to help the members develop in terms of quality assurance, because we feel and we believe that as member organizations of as members of PACU, we have the mission to bring up the level or bring up the standards of all of our members. And I guess on a personal note, from an individual institution's point of view, when you are together with the other PACU presidents and you see their efforts when it comes to quality assurance, it behooves you as as your own institution to really try to get up to that standard. So I think that is one of the benefits of being a member of PACU.
Okay, that's very good to hear. So, before we end, is there anything that we want to, announce or invite our listeners to? May mga initiatives ba upcoming yung PACU?
Yes.
Go ahead, Joyce.
Yes, Marco. If I may share, kasi we have 3 events that are lined up for this coming April. First of all, we have the Empowering EdTech Educators, Building the Classroom of the Future with AI. And thanks also to PAYAC and Khan Academy for bringing that to us. It will be on April 14, 2025 at Cebu Institute of Technology. I know PAYAC is also doing something similar on April 7 and 8 naman. So this is part of our knowledge building session in PACU. So this is also open to non-PACU member schools. We also have, of course, Attorney Erap's very own the Legal Mind executive sessions. And this is pretty much exciting because they will be talking about governance of Philippine higher education, balancing student protection and the academic freedom to enforce discipline, the extent and boundaries of academic freedom, including who may teach, and navigating the labor laws for the university. And finally, it's very timely yung safe space, Anti-Sexual Harassment Act, Safe Spaces Act, and other laws promoting the welfare of students and school personnel. So this will be on April 22, Tuesday, at Jose Rizal University. Thank you, President Vince, for being our gracious host. So we welcome you on that session. And finally, for Cocopea naman po, there is a senatorial forum for education for change on, the title is Elect Ed, with emphasis on Ed. We are looking for education champions. And this will be on April 21, Monday, 7:30 a.m. at the Tugade Auditorium of San Beda College, Alabang. So we hope to see you there. We hope ma-post din po nito sa page po ninyo
Yes,
for
let's stream
more
that,
information.
Actually, we had a
Thank
session
you.
like that. We said we need education senators. Diba? Before, education president ang call natin pag presidential elections eh. Now is education senators. So we'll have, showbizy parting words from our guests. Okay,
Anything
game.
else? Si Dr. Vince
Na,
naman.
mag-ano sila? Parting words.
Any parting?
Yeah, I wanted to say thank you for this opportunity. I think right now education with everything that's happening is such an exciting field. And I say that really more for I think the student now, lalo na if you're a student or you're thinking of going back into education, the learning opportunities are so big. So you should really take advantage of it.
Thank you.
On my
Dr.
end.
Fabelia, Press Marco.
Yeah, thank you, Attorney E and Doc D, for this opportunity for us to share PACU's advocacies. From the advocacy point of view, I think it's also a very exciting time. We have heads of government agencies whom we feel from the private sector are very much open and very collaborative with our sector. So we're very excited to really grow the education space as a whole, collaboratively for both private and public education, and really do good serving that public good.
Thank you, Press Marco.
Press Marco.
And Joyce?
Ayun, ako po, nagpapasalamat kay Attorney E, tsaka Dr. D for inviting me. Ako yata saling pusa dito. Pero we very much appreciate po atong ginagawa po ninyong podcast in the service of private education and education in general, kasi we're really looking for education champions to voice out our truths, our concerns, and the ways that we think also in the private sector marinig din ng publiko na mas maintindihan nila kung ano yung pwede pa naming gawin, mapalawig, di ba? Para ma-improve yung quality of education sa ating bansa for our future learners and good citizens nga
So
of the Philippines.
magpapasalamat kami sa inyong lahat.
Thank you. Yes.
More power to PACU. Maraming salamat
Thank you.
sa pagmamahal ninyo sa ating sektor at sa pagmamahal nyo sa bayan. Thank you, PACU. More power.
Yes, and of course, this platform is always open
Yes.
to you. Kung meron kayong gusto pang i-discuss later on about programs and advocacy, of course, this platform is
Pwede rin
always
kayong mag-host.
open.
Kung gusto nyo
Pwede
kayong
mag-host.
mag-host,
Can
pwede
come here
kami.
actually
Oo.
in person. Pwede tayong, can join us here.
Sige.
But of course, kulang na naman tayo sa oras. So maraming salamat ulit sa inyo, sa PACU. And of course, Doc D.
And Attorney E, maraming salamat sa lahat na nanood ng Usapang Ed.